So welcome guys to our special live broadcast today. So today we will dive deep into account management and discuss the strategies for maintaining a sustainable account in the hospitality industry and how to fast track your career progression. And my name is Yang. I'm from TheSqua. I'm doing the content marketing. So this is our guest speaker today, Z. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Z and I am an account manager at TheSqua. Basically what I do is I'm an account manager for corporate clients, and I've started at TheSqua in July last year. I started as a junior accounts executive, and I have recently been promoted to an account manager. Previously, I used to work at a pharmaceutical. I also had clients, but it was a different kind of industry. And I have progressed to come and join the industry with TheSqua.
Okay, great. So can you tell us what motivated you to join the industry in the first place?
Well, basically, when I was looking for jobs on Indeed, hospitality just took a interest in me because I like the challenge. Basically, I'm working with corporate clients, and they have different needs, and I like a challenge. I like to make sure that my clients are happy. And I looked into the job description. I was like, yeah, you know what, this is something I can do. And I jumped in and I went for it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I see lots of people are replying on LinkedIn. Hi everybody. So you can comment in the chat box and tell us what you want to learn from today's session, and anything you want to ask. So after the interview with Z, we will have a Q&A session. So it's very exciting for Z because she's recently being promoted to account manager,
Yes.
actually. So I want to say congratulations.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And so what kind of advice can you give to our ambitious professionals who want to accelerate their career growth?
Personally, I would just say that it's important to have a drive. If you have a goal and you want to reach your target, you just have to focus on it and kind of envision where you want to go and put like bullet points in place. Give yourself a set time and say, this is where I want to get to by this time. And if you push hard enough, I think you can reach your goal, which is what happened to me, actually. Yeah.
Oh, great. So there's a question for you already. Do you want to tell audience a bit about our company?
Yeah, so we are TheSqua and we provide serviced apartments. So for example, in my sector, I provide serviced apartments for corporate clients. So this would be anything from like banks to law firms to anything of such. When you need apartments longer than a week, so this is like bills paid and everything. Most of them are they can have like a hotel feel about it, so that you get your apartment cleaned every week, that kind of thing. The bills are paid. Some places have like free breakfast, you've got a gym, all these kind of things. Most of our clients come in maybe when they have meetings, coming from abroad, so we provide them with a luxury apartment for them to stay at the time they're in the UK. However, we do have apartments all across the world, so not just in UK, we also have apartments in Europe, China, Singapore, India, so we're very broad. So depending on what you're looking for, we can always provide for you if you just send us an inquiry.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So back to our question earlier.
Yeah.
So are there any key attributes you think can help people fast track their career advancement?
I think it all depends on you as a person. Personally, as I said, I just visioned myself to know where I want to go. So if when I started with the Square, I was happy with my position. However, I knew my goal that I wanted to be an account manager, and I just sat down with my manager and just found out what I have to do to get there. So when I had my review, I asked her where I am at and how do I get to account manager, and so she's given me the points. You have to do A, B, C, D, and then I just made it my point and my target to fulfill those things, and well, here I am. Yeah. I would say that.
Okay, so I can imagine like client relationship is like a key part of your job.
Of course.
Yeah, and so how do you usually balance between nurturing your existing client and then seeking opportunities to expand your new account?
Okay, so with my existing clients, I build a relationship with them. I get to know them as a person. So most of these people, the people I'm working with, are like PAs of somebody. So I know their names, I know their birthdays, I know if they've got a kid, those kind of things. So you get to know them as people. So you develop like some kind of trust with them, and if when you get this kind of trust, it makes it easier to keep the relationship, if that makes sense. So with my existing clients, this is just how I keep it. This is like, I know, okay, this person likes this kind of accommodation in this area. If I keep this noted, they don't have to come back to me and keep telling me, oh, I want this in this area. If you're organized enough, you would know. And for new clients, it depends what industry they're coming from, on how you approach it. However, I always believe in obviously approaching professionally, and also just listening to them and finding out what they need. Do some research on the company, do some research, make sure you know any upcoming events that they have, any project that they're working on. So when you do speak to them, they know that you care about the company, and your product that you're trying to sell them is relevant to them. And I think this is how you can win over new clients. Yeah.
I see. As account relationship, like building a strong relationship is really essential for account managers.
Of course.
So in long term, how do you usually maintain the sustainability of your account in terms of revenue growth and partnership with the clients?
Okay, so I think the most important thing is to be very organized. Personally, I always have like an Excel sheet where I know all my bookings, when someone is due to check out and all that stuff. So for example, I would go out of my way to ask my client, okay, I can see this guest is due to come out. Would you like an extension? That kind of thing. It shows some kind of dedication, and you're being proactive. Yeah. So first of all, it shows the client that you care and you are on top of your job, and also it kind of helps with revenue as well, because then now you have another booking. If they're extending, then you have another booking. So I guess if you just structure yourself in the right place, have an Excel, have a calendar to remind you of checkout dates, that kind of thing. If you're organized, this will help you, I think, very well in keeping your revenue and the relationship with your clients.
Yeah, I think so, because although I do marketing, I also have like an Excel sheet to organize the content and everything. Yes. So I do think being really organized is very important.
It's very key, yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk a bit about challenge. So what kind of common obstacles you think for account managers in the industry?
Okay, so
how do you usually overcome them?
Okay, so as an account manager, most challenges I would get sometimes is maybe, let's say, I don't have an availability for an apartment that my client usually books at. So let's say, for example, they're usually booking in Hammersmith, and I don't have any availability. It's all about being able to provide an alternative, for example. So if this is becoming a challenge for me, sorry, I can't provide you this apartment, however, I have an alternative. This also comes in where you have a good relationship with your client. If they trust you, they know you're going to bring them the next best thing. So personally, I deal with my challenges in that sense to find them the best option. So when I come back to them, unfortunately, I don't have this, but look, this is a great opportunity to try this new apartment, that kind of thing. It can be challenging sometimes depending on the client, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, this is how I would deal with things. And you also have issues where I guess maybe the guest is not happy in an apartment, and you just have to try and understand the guest side, also maybe like, the supplier side as well, and be like the mediator, be the middleman. I have to keep everybody happy. It's not the easiest thing to do, but you just have to be professional about it, and sympathize with the guest while you also kind of explain what the circumstances are. And if things go really bad, you can always what I do is, I'll send like a pack, the things that you get, like a welcome pack in a room. Yeah. Like a little champagne or something to the guests. Like, do apologize for the inconvenience. Here you go, to keep them happy. Because I need to keep my clients happy. And yeah, this usually works.
Yeah. I see. And I know you've been on the phone all the time, basically, in the office.
Yeah.
Because I can hear you calling someone all the time.
Yeah.
So, can you share some tips for people who's like juggling between multiple clients at the same time, and like how do you manage your time and prioritize your tasks and maintain like a high level of service?
Right. Again, I'm gonna go back and repeat myself and say organization is key. And I literally have things like, for example, we communicate mostly via email to our clients and our fellow colleagues, depending on what the situation is. What I do is I have a spreadsheet where I know what's more important than the other and prioritize that way. And if something is so urgent, as you said, I go on the phone. I will call my client and say, this is the situation. How can we resolve it? I call the supplier, or I call whoever I'm supposed to make the phone call to. I will make that phone call, and then I will put it down on an email just to have, a hard copy of an evidence of the communication, of course.
Yeah.
I think this is how I best keep on top of things. Like, you need to know when to pick up the phone. You need to know when to just write an email. If it's something that's not due to like 2 weeks' time, you can write an email. If it's something urgent, like, I don't know, there's a problem with the guest, pick up the phone, call the guest, make sure they're okay. Another thing that's so important is the manner of communication when you're on the phone. You need to be calm regardless of, because sometimes you can get an angry guest, and you need to learn how to be calm and collected and be professional. It's not the easiest thing to do, but, you just need to be able to approach it in a understanding way. Put yourself in their shoes. They're frustrated. What would you do in this situation? And then kind of make them understand that, listen, I get where you're coming from, and this is the situation, and kind of, confirm that, we're doing our best to help you. And most of the time, it does work. Most of the time. Not all the time. Most of the time. Or something, yeah. And then, obviously, if the issue blows over, then, that's when you call management. But usually, I don't have problems because, I try my best to keep my clients happy and the guests. And if you treat them nicely from the beginning, even when they have issues, because you've been so kind to them, it's easier for them to not be so hostile towards you. They will understand, I have this problem, but I know you're a nice person, so I'll understand and wait. That kind of thing. This is, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of communication, so do you use different styles when you're communicating with clients and when you're communicating with internal employees like us?
Well, of course, even in my clients, actually, I have different clients that I communicate differently. You know, some clients I will speak to professionally. I mean, everybody professionally, but some of them, you know, when you develop a relationship, you might even put a smiley face, you know, a laughing face or that kind of thing. And then some of them, it just has to be pure, you know, this is your booking, you know, that kind of thing. So it depends who it is. With my colleagues, it depends who it is, you know. If I'm you know, messaging I don't know, a director, would be different from if I'm messaging you. So
Exactly.
it differs. So I would either send an email, for example, if I'm messaging my manager, and if I'm just maybe messaging a fellow colleague, I could, you know, because we have Google Hangout, so I could just send them a message and be like, hi, can you help me with this inquiry real quickly, or something like that. So it differs who it is.
Yeah. So, because your work overlaps with supply chain sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, how do you usually communicate? Say, oh, like if something like you need or something happens or like there's issues you need to deal with, like both of you.
Right. I'm lucky because Ozzy just opposite me. She's like literally opposite me, so I can just shout it out sometimes. But in reality, what I do is I will put it on an email. Again, everything is very important to have it, you know, hard copy to prove the email trail and everything. Ozzy is a very understanding guy, so he you know, we'll talk and then we'll put it on the paper. If it's something very serious, we would take it to the office, like, you know, just book one of the office rooms and like kind of discuss. We need to sit and find a middle ground. Okay, who's at fault? Is it the supplier? Is it the client? And it's not really looking for who's at fault, rather than how can we best solve this issue without any damage being made in both sides. So it always depends on what the situation is. And I don't know, we've never really had anything that we've never disagreed on. It we just we'll always come to a conclusion, because we consider each other, like you consider yourself as the supplier or in their shoes and the client in their shoes, and then we kind of come into an arrangement.
I get it. And so another thing I think is really important being in the industry is like you need to keep learning and keep being updated with the industry trends and everything. So what steps do you think can account managers to take to enhance their skills and knowledge in the industry?
I think it's important. For example, when you're not busy, well, you're always busy, but when you have time, it's always good to research on your existing and new clients. So things like, I have this client. I'll go, you know, LinkedIn has a lot of things. Like when I have a client and I follow them, I will go and check what new business they're doing, what's happening, if they're having new projects in the place. So it gives me a reason to even also approach them and say, oh, I've seen that you've got a project happening in Heathrow this time. Can I be any of assistance with, you know, with accommodation, you know? And also you need to be very vigilant on what your competitors are doing. We are not the only service apartment provider, and we always need to see what other people are doing, so we are on top of our game as well, you know. If we can, I'd also learn something from them. Don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but you learn something from them as well, and read what they're doing. What can we do better? You know, what can I go back to my manager Sharon and say, I've noticed that people are doing this and it seems to be working. Can we try something like this? You know what I mean? So you always have to be proactive in every aspect. Hence, you know, some of us get promoted within 10 months of being employed because, you know, you proactively look into opportunities, into what's next, into how can we better serve our clients, you know. I think this is key. I
think so as well, because like in terms of researching like your competitors and always know what's happening in the industry, that's what I do as well for my job.
Exactly.
Because, like, it's always useful to learn what your competitor is doing and how you can learn from their success and then like develop on their success to make our own success. process.
Exactly, and it's important to also know what's happening. Like, for example, when, let's say, there's marathons happening in London or like events, this way you can go back to your clients and say, okay, in June there's this thing happen. Like when there was a coronation, we had to warn our clients that there's a coronation, so availability might be scarce. You might want to book earlier, that kind of thing. So just to let them know, because the prices are going to go sky high. But if I tell you months before, I'll get you better rates. And then they see that you actively care. And, this kind of thing, all these little things help, to build the trust with the clients.
Exactly. I think details are the key to build a really strong relationship.
Yes.
So as we wrap up, can you give us your top three actionable tips for account managers who's seeking for success and accelerate their career growth in the industry?
Personally, I would give that, but I would just give my what works for me, and hopefully it could work for another person who's, whether you're just an executive or looking to be an account manager or you want to progress yourself. I would say, first of all, build a connection with your clients. This is very important because this is what keeps them coming back. You're not the only person maybe doing the same thing. For example, there's other industries. There's McDonald's, there's KFC. What makes people go back to McDonald's? What makes people go back to KFC? That kind of thing. If you keep a relationship with your client, this really builds you as a account manager to, to connect with your clients, and they will keep coming back to you because they trust you. They know that if I send something to Z, within 2 hours, it's booked, done, everything, checking instructions, even less than that. But I'm just, giving the general time. That would be the first point. Build a connection. And the second one, I would say again and again, be organized. It's key. You need to know where you're at. You need to know your deadlines. You need to know what's more important than other. You need to be organized, period. I think this is literally maybe my main word in this interview. And I'll say lastly, give it your all, give it your heart, because if you work with your heart, if you work with passion in any industry, in whatever you're doing, if you're passionate about what you're doing, whether sometimes we're humans, sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, but you always reach your goal at some point if you work wholeheartedly. And personally, that's what I do with my work, and I think that's what brings me the success I am receiving, today. So that, that's it.
Okay, thank you.